welcome to Sling and Steel Spearfishing, and today we're going to cover how to rig a simple spear gun rig, of which is just going to be a single wrap, a small spear gun, of which is going to be mostly used in really low visibility water, and also like around rocks and inshore stuff, and for smaller fish. Generally everything that's going to be under 10 pounds or so. So first what we're going to do is we're going to take the old, I'm using a monofilament off of the spear, so it's just the spear. And sometimes what I'll do also is while I'm doing this, I'll take some sandpaper or my Dremel with a sanding bit, and I'll clean all the rust off of my spear. I do rinse my equipment every time I'm done using it, but still, you know, when you use something a lot in the ocean, it's still going to be pretty rusty. So sometimes it's good just to take a minute to clean your stuff up just so that it'll last longer for you. Second, what we're going to do is we're going to remove the bungee off of the muzzle of the gun. Sometimes I'll check my bungee, I'll pull on it till I hit the Dyneema core and make sure that it still has some good strength to it. This also might be a good time to change it out for a new one. This is a fairly cheap piece of equipment. I like to get mine from Tonics. They're about $5 or something, and they definitely will last if you take care of them all year or sometimes 2 years. This is also an optional part. Most people like them, and I like to use them too on my smaller rigs. And then the material that you're going to need, I'll show you, are crimpers, line cutters, appropriately sized crimps for your monofilament, and a lighter to kind of make a little mushroom on the end of the monofilament so that it won't pull through. But since we're generally going to be shooting small fish with this gun, you really don't have to worry about them pulling so hard on your monofilament that it's going to pull through a crimp. So what you're going to do is you're just going to run the monofilament through the first barrel, like so. And then you're just going to run it through the back of the shaft. This is the top of the shaft, the flat part, and this bottom part is where the trigger sear catches the shaft. You're going to want to have your monofilament on the top of the shaft. And you can just have this, it's just a general loop. Alright? You don't have to tighten it down because we're going to fit it to the whole spear gun in a moment. Alright? Next, we're going to put it in the spear gun. What you'll do is holding your spear and the monofilament. This is a closed muzzle spear gun. It's my loaner spear gun. I didn't want to break the setup on my good one because it doesn't need to be replaced. And you just send it home. Wrap it around, and then bring it to your line release, of which is going to be a little piece of metal coming out that's attached to the trigger mechanism. And we're only going to do a single wrap. So then we'll measure within 6 inches of where the bungee is going to be. So that'll give us a really good idea where we're going to have our bungee at. I'm going to go ahead and cut that. Now I don't need my bulk monofilament anymore. I'm going to get my bungee. This one has a swivel on it, which is nice. And then of course it's going to have the loop that you're going to end up putting on the stainless steel loop. Now if you're going to use a reel on your spear gun, this is where you would put the line through for the reel, but we're going to use a bungee instead. So you just slide that through. You don't even need to worry about tying a knot, you can just run it through the loop. There we go. You're going to run your line. And then what you're going to do is you're going to measure it. Don't forget to put your second barrel. I like to use double barrel crimps. It's just a preference thing. And then I will run it through the swivel on my bungee. I like to have it a little more tension than most because then it stays on when you're mucking around in the rocks and stuff. It's a real bummer when it's when your line is not behaving. So now I have the placements of my crimps exactly where I want them. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to crimp them. You're going to want to have a little bit of a tail so that you'll have some room to chop it, and then later I'll show you we're going to make a mushroom with the lighter. I'm also happy with the amount of tension that I have right here. So it holds it on the line release. So I'm going to go ahead and take it apart. All right, so I've removed the spear from the spear gun, and I have my two crimps that I'm going to get ready to position and crimp. Now I like to have my crimp behind the last notch so that the crimp doesn't interfere with me putting my bands on when I'm spearfishing. Also, I can't have this crimp inside this flat edge because then it'll stuff into the trigger mechanism and it won't come out as freely as I want it to. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this up a little bit so that it's between where the trigger mechanism ends and where the first band will be set on the spear, and then I'll crimp that. Just so you can see a top view of it. This is how it's going to look in the gun, all right? Probably a little bit more like that. So you're going to get your crimpers. You're going to go ahead. I like to start from the middle. And I'm just going to give it like a half crimp just to hold it in place. All right. Get a better grip on it. Make sure that you're in the correct hole, of which on this one it's going to be the bottom. And then I'm going to alternate from the center, left and right, the crimps. There's the right, and I'll go to the left of the center, and then I'll go back to the right, and I'll slowly crimp until I get to the ends. Now you remember, we're just going after tautog and sheephead and fluke, so it's not like this has to hold the world. There's other crimping techniques that you're going to use for much larger fish. And perfect. Notice I'm not going over the end of the barrel, and I'm not going onto the monofilament, all right? So it's going to make this nice little flare. I'm almost done. Bring that crimp very much so to the end. All right. And then what you're going to do is you're going to bring it all the way across, and you're going to crimp all and any burrs that you may have made by accident. Make sure you second check your work. Because if you mess up the length of one crimp, then you will end up doing the whole thing over again and wasting monofilament and crimps. It's one of the reasons why I like monofilament and crimps is because they are cheap and it's really cost effective. I mean, you can just replace it willy-nilly. Like if you just want to replace it for the sake of replacing it, you can. And you're not going to be breaking the bank. There we go. Now you want to make sure on this you have enough loop to get back into that snap at the end. All right? If you make it too small, it's going to be a real pain to get in and out of that snap. You got to remember, you're probably going to be doing everything with gloves on. So you want to have big loops. All right, that would be a good size loop. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to... A simple spearfishing rig with a single wrap. This is what a lot of people like. Good amount of tension. So it's about 2-inch gap. So it's going to have to be pulled back a little bit to hold that onto the line release, which is going to be perfect for mucking around. Here's another product that I think that everybody should use, is a sling sock. These are really nice because they protect the entire rig, and it also keeps it from coming apart in the boat or in the car. So then you don't have a big mess if something falls apart, like the line comes undone. And of course, the classic wine cork spear tip. There you go. All right. Ready to go sling some steel. Beautiful. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I look forward to seeing you again.